Welcome to Sci-Fi Bedtime Stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Greetings, listeners, and welcome to a realm of fantastical tales. Prepare yourselves for an enthralling adventure. The twin suns of Caleris IV cast a crimson glow upon the forsaken Sunblood arena. Princess Sia Tanalis stood, bound, at the center. Cables, buzzing with lethal power, encircled her wrists and ankles. Her regal attire was replaced with tattered rags. Bruises stained her violet skin and silver hair, once a crown of glory, now hung in matted clumps. 20,000 voices, from diverse species, roared with bloodlust, craving a royal execution. Citizens of the galactic hegemony, a holographic projection of Prince Sia Tanalis boomed. Today, you witness justice. My sister, Princess Saya, betrayed our people, displaying the forbidden trait of empathy. A hiss rippled through the crowd. Among the Tanzi, emotion was weakness. Saya lifted her chin, her amber eyes revealing disappointment. The real Dustier, in bone-white robes, his face mirroring hers, showed only icy satisfaction. "Technician," he called, "are the quadri beasts ready?" At the arena's corners, metal covers slid open, unleashing biomechanical canines, gleaming with steel and synthetic muscle, eyes glowing. "Your Highness," a technician announced, "quartering protocols are active." Saya closed her eyes. Quartering, a spectacle of ancient execution, would tear her apart. A commotion erupted. Guards shouted. Something crashed. "What's happening?" Deer demanded. The crowd's gaze shifted as massive gates groaned open. A single figure stumbled forward. A human, rare in this galaxy. He was nearly 7 feet tall, his bare upper body sculpted. Heavy chains bound him, yet he moved with ease. RX-12 was branded on his neck, with a warning. Blood spattered his skin. 5 bodies lay in his wake. The man kept his eyes downcast, but Saya felt something familiar. Dier laughed. "Perfect! The wild specimen arrives just in time. Observe the power of our latest biological weapon." He nodded to a technician. "Release him." The human's chains fell. Dier turned to Sia. "Any last words, sister?" Saya met his gaze. "You've already lost." Dier smirked. "Activate the quartering sequence, beginning with her right arm." The cable tightened. Pain surged. Sia closed her eyes, ashamed that a member of the true Tanzi bloodline would be humiliated in public. A thunderous. The arena shuddered. Suddenly, the cable's hold released. Saya's eyes flew open. RX-12. He couldn't recall his name, his past, his family. Only agony. Countless trials, unending pain. They took everything. Memory, identity, humanity, leaving instinct and rage. But now, something stirred. A forgotten connection. The silver-haired woman. The restraints shattered. The crowd's roar became a distant hum as his senses sharpened. A guard approached, weapon raised. Time slowed. RX-12's chest expanded, claws erupting, and he moved. The first guard crumpled, launched into the wall. The second managed a spark before RX-12 seized the weapon, smashing the guard's face into the sand. "Containment protocols!" a voice screamed. "Neural inhibitors!" A high-pitched whine filled the air. RX-12 roared, rage intensifying. 3 more guards charged. He tore through them. A fist, a kick, an elbow. Panic erupted. The arena's shields sealed. "Kill him!" Prince Dizier shrieked. Darts flew. RX-12 dodged, ripped them out, the drugs burning away. He fought with terrifying efficiency. More guards fell. A single purpose formed. Reach the woman. Mechanical beasts roared. RX-12 grabbed one, muscles straining, hurling it at the other. He leapt over the wreckage, landing before the princess. Their eyes met. Then, the last 2 beasts. He ripped the power cables, flinging the machines aside. "Kill them!" Zier shrieked. "All units, converge!" RX-12 faced the soldiers, a shield. "Stop," Seiya whispered. RX-12 froze. The storm paused. Blood dripped. Guards hesitated. Seiya stepped forward, regal despite the pain. "You've done enough," she said softly. RX-12 turned, something cracking within. The rage receded, replaced by an unnamed emotion. He knelt. His bloody claws trembled. The arena held its breath. Seiya, fragile, raised her hand, touching his hair. RX-12 shuddered, not from fear. It wasn't fear, not revulsion, but something unexpected. Gentleness. When had a touch been anything but cold, clinical? "It's all right," she breathed, her voice a solace in the eerie quiet. Something inside him fractured, the tension melting from his massive frame. His forehead found her midriff, a feather-light contact despite his size. Eyes drifted shut. Voices, the ones screaming for violence, for release, faded. Above them, Prince Dazier's face contorted with rage. "Sorcery," he spat. "Guards, separate them." But the guards hesitated, witnessing the impossible. The Empire's weapon, subdued by a princess's touch. Seiya's arms embraced Raylan's head, cradling him like a child. Her gaze met her brother's, a regal fire returning. "This ends now, Dacier," she declared, her voice echoing across the arena. "You've revealed yourself, and I've found my champion." The escape from Sunblood was chaos, yet they succeeded. With Raylan, now at her side, Seiya had commandeered a transport. 3 days later, they found refuge in an abandoned mining outpost on Caloris 4. Seiya sat cross-legged, eyes closed, memories flooding back. 7 years old, standing in the Temple of Luminous, the heart of Tanzi tradition. Quantum incense danced in the golden light, and her small hand clutched her brother's. "Stand tall, children of Tanzi," the Galactic Dynasty protocol boomed, cycling through holographic images of their ancestors. "Today, you are measured." Young Dacier straightened, his grip on Seiya's hand tightening. Even at 9, the emotionless mask was perfect. "The throne isn't decided by birthright," the protocol continued. "Tanzi chooses the most perfect." They passed displays of their lineage, each artifact humming. At the hall's end stood the memory stone. "Approach, children," commanded the protocol. Dacier went first. The stone glowed deep purple, strategic intelligence and control. The witnesses nodded. Then it was Seiya's turn. Her small hand trembled. The stone pulsed, then erupted in a brilliant blue, the color of heart vision, of empathy, bred out of their line generations ago. Gasps filled the hall. "Impossible," one elder whispered. Seiya stood, confused, but understanding the connection to others. She turned to Dacier, but saw something dark in his face. Jealousy, betrayal. Later, in their father's study, she overheard him. "She is flawed," Dacier insisted, a child's voice chillingly adult. "Empathy is weakness." "The memory stone has spoken," their father replied wearily. "We cannot ignore this." Dacier's voice hardened with a child's hatred. "If she is weak, I will prove her unworthy." Seiya found herself back, a fugitive princess in a desolate haven, not the rightful heir. Rylon's gaze, full of concern, met hers. "You were reliving a painful memory," he observed, his voice still laced with a lingering uncertainty. He was slowly rediscovering language, skills stolen by captivity. Seiya nodded. "It was the beginning of the end, the day my brother declared me his foe." Rylon moved closer, his massive form surprisingly graceful. "He fears you?" "Yes," Seiya whispered, amazed by his understanding. Dossier fears what he cannot grasp, and he's never known compassion. Her amber eyes met his, and she continued. The Tanzi believe emotion clouds judgment. We've spent millennia breeding for cold logic, but the memory stone chose me because I could feel. That's why Dossier sees me as a threat. Ryland's brow furrowed, but he asked, "But you're stronger for it." Sia's rare smile touched her lips. Yes, and that's what frightens him most. 3 days of perilous travel through Dossier's security taught Ryland the world beyond his prison, his curious mind absorbing everything. "Why do you call me Rylan?" he asked. Sia adjusted her filter. "It's your name, or what was before they took it." His eyes narrowed. "How can you know?" "The ring," she said. "We made them as children." Rylan touched his neck. "I don't remember you." "Parts of you already do. Why else would you have saved me?" The cave entrance, a mere fissure, opened only to Sia's royal bloodline. Inside, the temperature plunged, and blue fungi illuminated the ancient Tanzi glyphs. "What is this?" Rylan asked. "An old research facility," Sia explained. "Before the genetic purification. My father showed me this, said I'd understand its importance." She placed her hand on a sealed door, which then opened, revealing a time-locked laboratory. "What are we seeking?" Rylan asked warily. "Truth. Your truth." Holographic light filled the room, and Sia activated the terminal. "Project Beast Carrier." The image of a young boy, trapped in a capsule, appeared. RX-12. Rylan stepped forward. "That's me?" "Yes," Sia said softly. 22 years ago." He reached out, but pulled back. "I don't remember being a child." "According to this, you were not born," Sia replied. "You were engineered, like a weapon." She continued, her voice troubled. "They crossbred you with genes from the Halgram beast, an extinct predator with remarkable abilities." Ryland's fists clenched. "So I'm not fully human?" "You are more than they intended," Sia said, opening a video recording. The clinical voice spoke. "Subject RX-12 displays perplexing anomalies, defying genetic constraints. Emotions persist against all expectations. Survival instincts alone should govern, yet observation reveals advanced cognition and profound attachment, specifically to subject T-17. The video showed young Rylan, perhaps 7, in a stark room, facing a silver-haired girl, unmistakably Sia. "That's us," Rylan whispered, leaning in. Sia offered a piece of fruit. Their fingers brushed, and Rylan's neural activity spiked. The voice added, "Intriguingly, RX-12's connection with T-17 elevates combat effectiveness, aggression surging 47% when she's threatened." Another scientist spoke. "The High Council demands separation. They deem this bond perilous." Before severing contact, however, they'd test full combat protocols to gauge his reaction if he believed he'd lost her. Rylan slammed his fist, cracking the console. "They used you," he growled. "No," Sia corrected softly. "They tried to use me to trigger your rage, but didn't understand." She revealed brain scans. "Look, your rage isn't mindless destruction, it's focused protection. You weren't a killer, Rylan. You were designed as a shield." "A shield for what?" he asked. "For me," Sia whispered. "My father authorized this, secretly, after the memory stone chose me. He knew Dossier would never accept the result. He created you to protect me. So my purpose is to protect what you care about?" Rylan asked, searching her eyes. Sia finished. "For him, not because you were programmed to, but because you chose to. That's what they never understood. They couldn't program the human heart, not even in a genetically engineered body." The following weeks were a flurry of secret meetings and recruits. Word of Sia's escape ignited hope, emboldening those who suffered under Dacier. They established a base in the abandoned Royal Hunting Lodge. The Mineral Guild pledges 30 ships and 200 fighters, KX announced. Leon added, "The medical consortium remains neutral, but they'll provide supplies and intelligence." Sia nodded, studying the map. "They want proof," Ka replied, "that you're not just another royal playing politics." "They'll have it," Sia promised, "once we secure the genetic archives." Through it all, Rylan was at her side, observing, learning. The resistance fighters regarded him with awe and fear. In the evenings they trained. Sia's empathy intensified. "Focus on my emotions," she instructed him. "Feel what I feel." He closed his eyes. "Determination," he said. "Good," Sia encouraged. "Now reach for the anger." His brow furrowed. "It's like touching fire." "I can't. I might hurt you." Sia touched his face. "You've never hurt me, Rylan. Not even in your darkest moments." As the resistance base quieted, most fighters retreating, Sia found Rylan in the moonlit courtyard, practicing combat forms beneath Caloris IV's 3 ethereal moons. He moved with primal grace, powerful yet controlled, his bare torso glistening despite the cool night. Scars crisscrossed his back, stark testaments to what he'd endured. Though she approached silently, he sensed her, turning with an almost animalistic awareness. "You should be resting," he said, concern evident. "Tomorrow's mission demands your strength." "So should you," she countered, moving closer. "But I know sleep rarely grants you peace." He didn't deny it. The dreams, they're fragments, images without context. Sometimes the laboratory, sometimes the arena, and sometimes a garden with silver trees and a little girl offering bread. Sia's voice softened. "That was real, Rylan. You were a test subject in the lower laboratories. My father brought me there when I was 5 to observe. While the scientists were distracted, I smuggled you out, hiding you in my private garden for 3 precious days before they discovered us." Rylan's expression softened. "You were kind to me." "And you were kind to me, too," she replied. "You listened when no one else would. Even then, Dacier was cruel, telling me my empathy made me weak, unworthy of our heritage." She stepped closer, tracing the scars on his back. "They tried to make you forget your humanity," she whispered against his skin. "But they couldn't take away what makes you, you." He turned, capturing her hand. For a long moment, they stood, connected by touch and shared history. Then, with deliberate care, he leaned down and pressed his lips to hers. Their first kiss in the cave had been tentative. This was different, a claiming, a recognition of something deeper than either could articulate. The genetic research facility on Tony Prime loomed ominously against the violet sky, crystalline spires glinting in the twin moons' cold light. Security drones patrolled ceaselessly, sensors sweeping for unauthorized life forms. 14 guards at the main entrance, KX reported, lowering his macro binoculars. Biometric scanners, neural pattern recognition, the works. Sia nodded, studying schematics. Dacier made this his primary laboratory, conducting horrific genetic experiments on colonial species, forcing adaptations to create efficient labor units. Rylan's jaw tightened, the concept painfully familiar. "How do we get in?" "My royal access codes should still function on secondary systems," Sia explained. "Dacier's arrogance prevents him from admitting I might return. Erasing them would be a vulnerability he'd never permit himself." Their small team, Sia, Rylan, KX, and 2 resistance fighters, approached under cloak of darkness. Sia guided them to a maintenance hatch concealed by vegetation. She placed her palm against the scanner, holding her breath. The panel glowed violet, chiming softly. "Access granted," "Welcome, Princess Sai." "Arrogant bastard," Kayaks muttered. "He never thought you'd dare return." They infiltrated through utility tunnels, avoiding main corridors. Saya led with uncanny confidence, having explored the facility in her youth. The layout was largely unchanged, though new security measures appeared at key junctions. "The central data core is 3 levels down," Saya whispered as they navigated dimly lit passages. "All research files are stored there." Rylan moved silently behind her, senses hyper-alert. His enhanced hearing picked up guard patrols, allowing them to duck into alcoves. The facility's sterile smell, antiseptic chemicals, recycled air, triggered fragmented, painful memories of his own time in similar laboratories. They reached the central data core without incident, almost too easily. The massive room hummed with quantum processors, holographic displays cycling through research data. "Cover the entrance," Saya instructed. "We need 10 minutes." As Saya accessed the main terminal, Rylan circled, instincts prickling. "Something's wrong," he murmured. "This is too simple." Saya worked swiftly, copying files. Genetic modification programs, forced labor adaptations. Dasir's been experimenting on children from the outer colonies, trying to create specialized worker castes. Rylan leaned over, eyes narrowing. "Just like they did to me." "We need this to the Galactic Council," Saya declared, downloading the final files. "With this evidence." An alarm blared, painfully loud even to normal ears. To Rylan, with his enhanced hearing, it was excruciating. He clutched his head, momentarily disoriented. "It's a trap!" KX shouted from the doorway, firing his disruptor. Clutching the stolen pistol, Sia watched as security forces advanced from both flanks. "Dasir knew we were coming. He let us in," she exclaimed, yanking the data crystal free. "We have to move!" Rylan's growl was a promise, positioning himself protectively between Sia and the imminent danger. They fought desperately toward the utility tunnels, only to find every exit sealed. Kill caught a stun blast, collapsing against a cold wall. A fellow resistance fighter hauled him behind cover, laying down, suppressing fire. "There's another way," Sia insisted, summoning the facility map. "Through the xenobiology labs, emergency evacuation chute." They veered, battling through intensifying resistance. Rylan moved with grim efficiency, disarming guards, sparing their lives. These were conscripts, not Dasir's fanatics. Bursting into xenobiology, they froze. Dozens of containment pods lined the walls, each a prison for a modified creature. Some clearly sentient, all victims. "Stars above," Sia breathed, stricken. "He's doing this to our citizens." A blast door slammed shut behind them, severing their retreat. The emergency chute beckoned, but a full squad of elite guards stood as an unbreachable wall, weapons trained. "Princess Saya Tanalis," the squad leader's voice dripped with cold authority. "By order of Emperor Dasir, you are detained for treason." Saya straightened, regal in the face of capture. "The true treason festers within these walls. These are citizens, not experiments. Surrender your weapons." The squad leader sneered, ignoring her plea. "Regarding the human weapon, our orders are explicit." Rylan tensed, calculating. 20 guards, neural disruptors calibrated to exploit his physiology. The others couldn't survive this onslaught, and he couldn't protect them all. A familiar pressure mounted within, the beast clawing for release. "Surrender or we fire," the squad leader snarled, aiming at Saya. Time seemed to warp. Rylan felt the inferno building, threatening to consume him, as it had before. Fight it? Maintain control? But at what cost? Capture? Saya's execution? Her hand gently found his face, drawing him back. Her amber eyes held no fear, only unwavering trust. "Don't fight it," she whispered, her voice soft as starlight. "Embrace it, as a part of you." The squad leader barked an order. Weapons powered up, humming an ominous prelude to destruction. Rylon made his choice. Not suppression, but acceptance. Not surrender, but integration. For the first time, he willingly stepped into the abyss. His vision sharpened, colors exploding with new intensity. Muscles bulged, veins darkened, claws sprung from his fingertips, teeth lengthened into fangs. But unlike before, his mind remained clear, focused. The squad leader fired. Rylon moved with impossible speed, intercepting the neural disruptor beam with his bare hand. Energy crackled harmlessly around his fingers. What followed wasn't a mindless rampage, but a symphony of calculated violence. He disabled guards with surgical precision, fracturing weapons, not bones, incapacitating, not killing. He moved like a phantom through their ranks, each motion efficient, deliberate. When laboratory workers appeared, drawn by the chaos, Rylon carefully avoided them, his enhanced senses distinguishing threat from innocent, soldier from scientist. Within minutes, the entire security detail lay subdued, not one civilian harmed, not one life extinguished. Sci-Fi stared, awestruck. Rylon stood tall, still partially transformed, his breathing even, his posture relaxed. For the first time since his creation, he existed in balance, neither fully human nor fully beast, but something new, something whole. "We need to go," he said, his voice deeper, yet controlled. "More will come." They escaped through the emergency chute, finding their backup team waiting with a stealth transport ready for immediate extraction. As the ship soared, piercing Tony Prime's atmosphere, Rylon finally allowed the transformation to recede, the process smooth, painless, unlike the agonizing reversions he'd endured before. "You controlled it," Sci-Fi said, joining him in the cockpit, pride radiating from her. "Not controlled," Rylon corrected, his eyes meeting hers. "Accepted. There's a difference." That night, as the stolen ship hurtled through hyperspace towards their rendezvous point, Sci-Fi came to his quarters. Words were unnecessary, their connection transcending simple communication. He stood as she entered, still radiating power from the Tron. Even in his altered state, vestiges of the man he was persisted. Shadows deepened in his eyes, his muscles sculpted with fierce definition, a raw power vibrating beneath his skin. Their union was not a gentle dance, but a claiming, a passionate testament to survival and rediscovery. His transformation introduced thrilling new depths to their intimacy, primal hunger tempered by enduring devotion, brutal strength softened by tender care. Afterward, intertwined, Sci-Fi traced the shifting patterns of his altered flesh. "You're not becoming more human," she breathed. "And I'm not simply becoming Tanzi. We are forging something entirely new." Rylon embraced her, a low growl rumbling in his chest. "Something better." The damning evidence unearthed from the genetic research facility spread like wildfire across the Tanzi systems. Zier's horrific experiments, crafting specialized slave castes from colonized populations through forced genetic manipulation, revolted even his staunchest supporters among the noble houses. Isolated resistance cells swelled into an organized rebellion. Outer colonies declared their allegiance to Sci-Fi, followed by the Mineral Guild, and finally, military commands from 3 star systems. Within weeks, Zier clung desperately to the capital planet and its surrounding satellites. "He's cornered," KX reported during a tense strategy session aboard their flagship. A jagged scar, a stark reminder of the neural disruptor's attack. "Our intelligence suggests he's accelerated weapons development, including modified versions of you, Rylon." Rylon's features hardened. "How many?" 12 specimens, all human-based. None have survived the enhancement process." Sci-Fi's grip tightened on the tactical display, her knuckles white. "He's trying to create his own guardians, but without the emotional tether, they're just weapons. Unstable, Rylan finished, his voice a low growl. Uncontrollable. The decision was swift. They would strike at the capital, targeting Zier before he could perfect his new weapons program, using their burgeoning fleet to penetrate the orbital defenses and land directly at the Imperial Palace. 3 days later, the assault began. Rebel ships engaged Zier's forces in the upper atmosphere, while Saya, Rylan, and an elite strike team infiltrated the palace through ancient, secret tunnels known only to those of royal blood. Emerging in the lower levels, they fought their way upward through escalating resistance. Rylan moved in his partial state of transformation, powerfully shielding their advance, yet disciplined enough to coordinate with the team. As they neared the council chambers, where intelligence placed Dacier barricaded with loyalist nobles, Rylan paused, a deep unease settling over him. "Something's wrong," he warned, nostrils flaring. "I sense fear, but not enough guards." Before they could react, hidden panels in the corridor hissed open, revealing not guards, but a battery of automated defense systems designed specifically to exploit Rylan's unique physiology. Concentrated sonic pulses slammed into his enhanced hearing, while chemical dispersers unleashed compounds calculated to trigger a catastrophic, uncontrolled transformation. Rylan staggered, dropping to one knee, battling both the external assault and his own body's violent reaction. The beast within roared, demanding release, but without the balance he had fought so hard to achieve. "Go," he commanded Saya and the others, his voice strained. "Complete the mission. I'll hold them here." Saya hesitated, torn between tactical necessity and personal loyalty. "Trust me," Rylan rasped through gritted teeth. "I'll find you." With a curt nod, Saya led the strike team onward, leaving Rylan to face the automated defenses alone. The sounds of battle receded as they advanced to the upper levels. The massive doors to the council chambers stood slightly ajar, another ominous sign. Saya signaled for caution as they entered the vast, domed room, the semicircular arrangement of seats designed to accommodate the 100 noble houses of Tanzi. Zier waited on the central dais, not surrounded by guards, but with a single, vulnerable hostage. Dr. Vaughn, the chief scientist from the research facility, the architect of Rylan's creation, decades ago. "Sister," Zier greeted her, his tone deceptively conversational. "I've been expecting you. Your rebellion has been instructive. I underestimated both your resourcefulness and your popular appeal." Saya advanced slowly, signaling her team to fan out around the chamber's perimeter. "It's over, Desir. The colonies have declared for me. The military command supports my claim. Even the noble houses are withdrawing their loyalty." Zier's smile was a cold, mirthless thing. "Because you exposed my research. Please. Our ancestors did far worse in building this empire. The nobles object to the methods becoming public, not the methods themselves." "The Tanzi way is changing," Saya insisted, her voice unwavering. "The people want leadership, not tyranny." "The people," Zier spat, his lip curling in disgust, "don't know what they want. They need direction, control, purpose." He yanked Dr. Vaughn forward, pressing a neural disruptor against the elderly scientist's temple. "Did your pet monster tell you the truth of his creation? That he was designed to fail? That the emotional connection was simply an experiment to see how long he would last before his genetic structure collapsed?" Saya maintained her composure, her gaze locked on Zier's. "We found the records. We know everything." "Not everything," Daisier sneered, his voice dripping with arrogance. "You presume to know my work? These are not your flawed specimens. I've refined the process. These weapons are pure, devoid of messy emotions, utterly loyal to me." A concealed door hissed open, and 3 grotesque figures lumbered into the chamber. Roughly human in form, Their bodies were exaggerated parodies of strength, muscles bulging obscenely beneath sickly gray skin. Their eyes were vacant, pupils dilated into bottomless pits. They moved with unsettling synchronization, surrounding Désiré like obedient automatons. "Marvelous, aren't they?" Désiré boasted, gesturing proudly. "No emotions to betray them, no humanity to weaken them." "You've birthed abominations. I have forged the future of warfare," Désiré corrected, his voice ringing with fanaticism. He turned to address the assembled nobles, his eyes blazing with righteous indignation. "Behold this woman, this supposed heir who values empathy and connection. She has defiled the Tanzi Code, embracing a human weapon, tainting our bloodline." The main doors burst inward with a deafening crash. Rylon stood framed in the doorway, alone. His clothes were ripped and stained with blood, his body bearing the marks of fierce combat. Yet he moved with an unwavering purpose. He carried no weapons, but radiated an aura of deadly power. Désiré's monstrous soldiers began to advance, but he raised a hand, halting them. "Wait," he commanded, a cruel smile playing on his lips. "Let the original creation approach. Let them all witness the monster she has chosen." Rylon walked with a measured tread towards the center of the room, stopping beside Sia. His eyes, dark as a starless night, swept over the chamber, lingering on the nobles, assessing the enhanced soldiers, before finally settling on Désiré. "You are correct," he conceded, his voice resonating with unexpected depth. "I am a weapon, a beast forged in your laboratories." His gaze softened as he turned to Sia. "But because of her, I am now able to choose when to be human." Désiré's laughter echoed through the chamber, cold and devoid of warmth. "Choice? You dare speak of choice? You are nothing but a genetic construct. Your so-called emotions are mere programming, designed to stabilize your unstable existence." "Perhaps," Rylon replied calmly, "but even programmed emotions can feel very real." Désiré's face twisted with undisguised revulsion. "Real? Nothing about you is real. You are a failed experiment, an anomaly that should have been eradicated long ago." He drew a sleek device from within his robes. "Now I will demonstrate just how much control you truly lack." He activated the device. A piercing, high-pitched frequency, beyond the range of normal hearing, flooded the chamber. Rylon recognized it instantly, a neural suppressor engineered to override his conscious will and unleash his full, unrestrained power. Agony ripped through his skull, the beast within stirring, clawing to break free. His vision blurred, muscles convulsing as the transformation began against his will. Claws extended, teeth elongated into fangs, skin darkened with the surging tide of blood. Désiré's smile widened with triumph. "There, you see? No control, only instinct. Attack mode engaged." He pointed at Sia, his voice laced with malice. "Target acquired. Destroy her." Rylon's body writhed in torment, torn between conflicting commands, the artificial imperative of the device, and the unwavering force of his own will. The beast raged within him, amplified by the suppressor's power. But this time, Rylon didn't resist. As Sia had taught him, he embraced the change, neither fighting nor surrendering, but directing its raw power. His eyes flashed, claws extended, the transformation complete, yet his mind remained clear, focused, his own. Désiré's smile faltered. "What are you waiting for? Attack!" "No," Rylon replied, his voice a guttural growl, yet articulate despite his altered state. With impossible speed, he crossed the chamber, confronting Désiré's enhanced soldiers. They lunged to intercept, but they lacked his finesse. They had brute strength, but he had precision. He disabled the first with a targeted strike, crippling their nervous system, the second with a precise joint lock that rendered their augmented muscles useless. The third managed to land a blow, hard enough to shatter bone. Rylon absorbed the impact, redirected the force, and with a sweeping leg maneuver incapacitated his opponent. Dazier's face contorted with rage. "Kill them all!" he shrieked at his remaining guards, who swarmed in from side entrances. What followed was not a battle, but a demonstration. Rylon flowed through the guards, disarming, not killing, disabling rather than maiming. Those who yielded were spared. Those who fought, he neutralized without permanent damage. When Dazier drew a crackling energy blade, Rylon seized it. The weapon shattered, components clattering on the floor. "I don't need to kill you to defeat you," Rylon said, his voice resonating with quiet power. Dazier stumbled backward, his composure shattered. "Guards, loyal houses, defend your emperor." No one moved. Saya stepped forward, her presence commanding. "I am not a victim," she declared, her voice echoing. "I am the Empress of Tansi, chosen by the Memory Stone, affirmed by my actions, and supported by our people." One by one, the noble representatives rose, not in opposition, but in acknowledgement. Dacier, seeing his support crumble. Despair seized him. Rylon sank to his knees. "Sister, mercy," he whispered. "Yes," Sia declared, her voice resonating through the hall. "Mercy, not weakness, but strength." She turned to the council, her gaze unwavering. "My brother will be exiled to the ancient asteroid monastery of Sara, where, like our ancestors, he will confront his demons and seek redemption." Guards, now sworn to Sia, escorted the disgraced emperor away, his face a mask of disbelief and a dawning, fragile hope. As the chamber emptied, Rylon allowed his engineered form to subtly shift, the transition effortless now, a natural return, no longer a brutal battle. Sia approached, public restraint holding her back, but her eyes spoke volumes. "It is done," she murmured. "It has only just begun," Rylon corrected gently. The weeks following Dacier's downfall blurred into a whirlwind of diplomatic overtures, sweeping policy revisions, and solemn ceremonial obligations. Sia's coronation, timed to coincide with the next grand lunar alignment, would grant representatives from every corner of the Tanzi Empire ample time to arrive. Rylon, however, found himself adrift, neither a subject nor an equal in the eyes of the old guard. Some accepted him pragmatically, some out of heartfelt respect for his role in the rebellion, but a vocal few openly questioned the suitability of a genetic construct standing at the Empress's side. As coronation preparations reached fever pitch, Rylon sought solace one evening in the tranquil palace gardens, where the surroundings stirred half-forgotten memories. Silver leaf trees, crystalline fountains, the heady perfume of night-blooming star flowers. He was not alone. Sia had slipped away from her advisors, and in the garden's secluded depths they could be simply Rylon and Sia, equals, companions unbound by protocol. "You've been absent from the council sessions," she observed softly, joining him beside a luminescent pool where bioluminescent organisms painted swirling azure patterns. "Taxation and treaties are not my forte," Rylon replied, his voice low. "That is not why you avoid them," Sia countered, meeting his gaze. "No, it is not." She allowed him to gather his thoughts. "I have been contemplating purpose," he confessed finally. "My entire existence was forged for one single objective: your protection. Now, with you secure upon your throne, surrounded by loyal protectors, I wonder if I am still necessary." "You wonder if you are merely a tool, a shield," Sia finished, her tone gentle, not accusatory. "I do not know what else I can be," he admitted, his voice tinged with pain. "I was created, not born, programmed, not nurtured. Sia's hand found his, their fingers entwining, violet against tan. Why did you keep the ring all those years, through all their manipulations and torments? Why cling to such a childish trinket? Rylan touched the worn desert crab shell circle hanging around his neck, smoothed by countless unconscious touches. I do not remember, he confessed, only that it was essential, that I would have died before relinquishing it. Why do you think I gave it to you all those years ago when we were children? Sia pressed softly. Rylan paused, considering. As a symbol of friendship? A royal gesture towards a commoner? Sia shook her head, her silver hair catching the garden's ethereal light. Because you were weeping, and I realized you were real, alive, not merely another anonymous face in my father's endless procession. I did not want you to be alone. She withdrew a matching ring from the folds of her gown, its crude pattern identical, equally crafted by childish hands. We made them together, from shells found in the palace fountain. You wished for something to remember me by when you left with the Earth delegation. I swore we would meet again when we were grown. Rylan stared at the rings, emotion constricting his throat. And now? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. Sia met his gaze directly, her amber eyes unwavering. Now I know you have been mine from the beginning, not because you were engineered to protect me, but because we chose each other long before anyone else decided our destinies for us. The realization washed over Rylan, like the final piece of a complex puzzle falling into place. His purpose had not been dictated by geneticists or military strategists, but chosen by a child's open heart long before the sterile laboratories and brutal training compounds. The memory stone recognized your empathy, he said, awestruck. Even then, you saw beyond what others wanted me to be. As did you, Sia replied softly. Your genetic coding did not make you save me in that arena. Your heart did. The new throne hall of Tanzi shimmered beneath a constellation of crystal chandeliers. Where the old imperial chamber had been built to inspire fear, all sharp angles and oppressive grandeur, this new space invited collaboration. The royal dais remained, but surrounding it were concentric circles of seats, allowing delegates from every colony, guild, and social strata to participate directly in governance. Sia stood at the heart of the chamber, radiant in a gown of luminous white fabric, its accents mirroring the violet of her eyes. Her silver hair cascaded in an elaborate crown of braids, interwoven with luminous, living flowers that pulsed with the promise of renewal. No cold metal oppressed her brow. She had cast aside that archaic symbol, a relic of the chasm between those who ruled and those who were ruled. Silence fell as she lifted her hands, centuries of ingrained reverence drawing every gaze to her. People of Tansi, Sia began, her voice a beacon of clarity, resonating through the vast hall without the aid of technology. 1 year prior, discord splintered us. Today, we stand as one, bound not by coercion or dread, but by conscious choice and shared destiny. Her amber eyes swept across the assembly, briefly meeting the gaze of envoys from distant colonies, the powerful mineral guild, and the former military elite who had embraced a new path. For 10 millennia, our civilization enshrined cold calculation above all. We cultivated it in our bloodlines, governed by its dictates, and excused cruelty in its name. Her gaze lingered on the empty seat of Dzier, now atoning in the asteroid monastery. We falsely believed that emotions were a weakness, that empathy was a destructive force against our supposed greatness. She gestured towards the data crystals, displayed like damning relics on pedestals, displaying the horrifying experiments, the brutal forced labor, the ruthless subjugation of those deemed lesser. Behold the bitter harvest of that twisted philosophy, not resilience, but fragility, not glory, but shame. A murmur of profound agreement washed over the assembly. Today, Saya continued, her voice ringing with resolute hope, we step into a new dawn, a new era of choosing, not of dominion, a partnership, not an empire. My strength no longer lies in suppression, but in understanding and compassion, in cherishing the intrinsic value of others, even in a creature considered a beast, even in them seeing the person they are. At her signal, Rallan moved from his place beside the dais. He wore a dark battle robe of midnight blue, elegantly simple, made for use, not show. Around his neck, a childhood ring sparkled in the light, no longer on a rough cord, but set in an elaborate medallion that spoke of his unique identity. The assembly stirred with restrained anticipation. Many still looked on him with suspicion, even after his crucial role in the revolution. Some nobles visibly recoiled, fearing the wildness they thought was contained within. Rallan met their gazes without flinching. He had spent the past year coming to terms with his dual nature, embracing both sides of himself. When he spoke, his voice was touched with the tranquility of acceptance. I stand before you, neither fully human nor fully Tanzi, neither wholly civilized nor entirely wild. His dark eyes searched the hall. Like some among you, I was forged for a purpose I never sought, meant to serve the designs of others. He raised his forearms, displaying the scars of his captivity. I was taught that my worth was measured only by obedience, by denying my true self, by becoming what they wanted. Rallan turned slightly, his gaze seeking Saya. Respect filled his expression, yet it carried something deeper, a profound bond that eclipsed traditional hierarchy. But one person saw more in me, so I vowed to shield this world that she is building, not only with power, but with my heart. His voice softened, yet carried through every corner of the hall. Because once, a girl with hair like moonlight shared her bread with me when I was at the brink of death, and I found meaning to live. He reached out to Saya, a breach of protocol, a shock to the traditionalists. She grasped his hand without hesitation, their fingers interlacing in a public pledge. The future of Tansi will not be built on genetic purity or emotional suppression, Saya proclaimed, but on freedom, on empathy, on seeing the whole person, not just their utility, but their spirit. She raised their joined hands. In 3 days, at the Temple of Luminous, Raylan and I will participate in the union ceremony, not as ruler and subject, but as equals, as partners in governance and in life. Gasps of surprise spread through the assembly. This union was unheard of, a bridge not only between species, but between an empress and a creation designed as a weapon. Yet no one spoke out, perhaps through reverence, maybe through realizing that the old ways had crumbled, or because, seeing Saya and Rallan together, even the most hardened among them recognized the incredible power of their connection. 15 years later, stillness filled the temple archives in the pre-dawn hours. Ancient data crystals emitted a soft glow in their protection fields, preserving the history of Tansi across 10,000 years. The air carried the gentle fragrance of quantum incense and aged paper. Some records remained physical copies, preserved as backup for digital repositories. A small figure moved among the towering shelves, golden eyes gleaming with curiosity. Prince Kalin Tanales Rael, heir to the Tanzi Union, inherited his mother's violet skin and his father's remarkable concentration. At 7 years, he possessed both Tanzi intellect and human adaptability, tempered by a stubbornness that challenged his instructors. He stopped before a display case holding 2 simple rings fashioned from a desert crab shell rested upon a shimmering crystal pedestal, a small plaque inscribed beneath, from chaos, peace, from rage, choice, from solitude, love. What captures your attention, little starfighter? A resonant voice echoed from the archive entrance. Kalen turned, a smile illuminating his features. "Dad, I'm delving into our family's history for my junior council presentation." Rylon approached, moving with the confident grace he'd cultivated over years of self-acceptance. At 45, his physique remained powerfully sculpted, his human aging gracefully slowed by his unique genetics. Silver strands traced pathways through his dark hair, adding a distinguished air. "And has your search proved fruitful?" he inquired, crouching beside his son. Kalen gestured towards the rings. The archivists were hesitant to share this tale. They said it held sensitive historical context, requiring your guidance. Rylon chuckled softly. "The archivists are meticulously thorough." "Dad," Kalen began, with childlike directness, "is it true you were once a wild beast? That's what Counselor Choro's son said. He said you were a failed experiment." Rylon's expression turned thoughtful, not offended. 15 years as the Empress's consort had taught him to address such questions with profound honesty. "I was different," he conceded. "Created as a warrior, imbued with extraordinary abilities. And yes, at times, I transformed into something frightening, something with claws and fangs, like in the stories." Kalen's eyes widened with curiosity rather than fear. "Could you truly transform?" Rylon nodded. "But the stories often omit the most important part, that I learned to master those changes, to wield them for protection, not harm." "Can you still do it?" the boy asked, his voice filled with fascination. "When necessity demands," Rylon replied with a gentle smile. "Sometimes your dad is still a little wild." His gaze drifted toward the archive entrance, where Seiya now stood. Her silver hair, recently cut shorter for practicality, gleamed in the soft light. "Especially when Mom kisses him," Kalen muttered, earning an arched eyebrow from Seiya as she approached. "Corrupting our son with scandalous information again?" "Historical context, my love," Rylon corrected, rising to meet her with a tender kiss. Kalen grimaced with exaggerated disgust. He then pointed back to the rings. "Were these really yours? They look like something I could craft." "Precisely what they are," Seiya affirmed, placing a comforting hand on her son's shoulder. "Something two children made, long before anyone tried to define who they were, or who they were allowed to love." Kalen now examined the simple artifacts with newfound appreciation. "And they're important enough to be in the archives, with the founding documents and the peace treaties?" "More important," Rylon asserted. "Those documents recount what transpired. These embody why this family stood together." Before the humble display, silhouetted against the archive's ambient glow, they stood as living proof that connection transcended design, that choice triumphed over programming, and that even the wildest heart could be transformed by love. Deep within that ancient chamber, upon a glass stand, two simple rings continued to whisper their timeless tale. From chaos, peace. From rage, choice.